Alex Ray. Welcome to the Symposium Solutions Project for CMIS 540. Today we'll be discussing hot topics in the world of project management. With us tonight we have 3 project managers. They'll be giving us their opinions on these hot topics. We have with us Barb Strang, Dave Mayo, and Bob Smith. Let's get started with a question about project management skills. Based on the experience that you all have in project management, if you had to pick one skill that project managers needed to succeed in the field, what would that one skill be?
I was thinking about the skill that they had in Star Wars, where you're able to use the Force to get people to say those are the requirements that you wanted, those are the deliverables you wanted. So helping people understand those type of things. But okay. Communication is a huge skill that you need to have on dealing with projects.
Okay. Given the fast pace of everything these days, one of the fallout of today's professionals is getting burned out on their jobs. So how do you go about keeping your valued project leaders and team members from burning out?
You pay them.
How much though?
Make sure the check's cash.
Gotcha.
No, actually, in my opinion, I think in order for it, the people have to accept the responsibility that is part of their job. And not every job is fun, and not every job is exciting, but when you buy into a program or into a position, that's the responsibility that comes with it.
I think one of the things we've been trying to do is projects are in a life cycle. You have times where things are kicking in, you're gathering requirements, and then you get in the heat of the battle and people are putting in extra time and they're having to work the weekends and everything they have to do to get the project done. And then you kind of go into this implementation mode and things kind of chill. And I think that's the time you got to give the people the time to recover. They have to have time to, maybe time with their family, go to the doctor, those type of things. And then before you kick them back into a project. Some of the sins that we've had in the past is where as soon as they get into execution, we pull them off too fast and make them go right back in the heat of battle again. And I think you got to give them that lull time. If you don't, you're going to burn them out.
So given that fast-paced cycle, what do you find is one of the greater motivators for some of your workers in this field?
I don't think motivation takes a whole lot of effort. I think it's acknowledgement of what they're doing at all times. If you see someone struggling, bring it to their attention, not everybody else's, but go and approach them. Talk to them about it. What's going on? How can I help? I think that adds a lot of support to them.
Okay. Looking towards the future, one of the major changes that project managers have to adapt to are advances in technology. Specifically, the number of projects being conducted in the cloud and the dependency on mobile devices. All of these are becoming much more prevalent. What are your predictions for how projects will be conducted in the future?
Future people will be doing them at home, sitting in their pajamas in front of a TV or something.
All right.
I think that's the thing, the challenge right now. Right now, we're all in our offices and we see each other face to face. And I think right now you're seeing more and more home-based associates. Well,
you bring up a great point. I mean, with the prevalence of mobile devices, it becomes increasingly difficult to actually make the time to unplug. So when you incorporate the fact that you can work at home now, I mean, can you talk about the difficulties of unplugging, say, for a weekend or for a couple days? Any thoughts on that?
So there is a discipline behind it. And years ago, you didn't hear discussions about work-life balance, but now you do have to think about it. You do have to set limits and parameters and work certain times and just decide, I'm not going to work certain times. I've got priorities.
But let me ask you a question, though. I mean, now that you've said it, because I struggle with this. When you take a vacation, do you walk away?
Yes.
Completely?
Is this an intervention? I think it's hard to walk away, depending on your role, and because they just pile up. And then you're either going to, somebody said, you pay vacation several times. You pay before you leave, getting ready, you pay for it while you're there, and you pay for it when you get back. And I think sometimes you stay more engaged because that way it's less impactful in re-engaging back in work.
But what about delegating? You want to be able to delegate to someone and not say, I'm the only one that can answer that question. I want to train people. I want to allow people to make decisions in my place. Right. And that's difficult.
And tied in so closely with this success rate is communication. Communication is vital in project management and is often the reason that projects succeed or fail. Project teams are made up of a variety of different backgrounds and cultures, as well as differences in age. So looking at generational gaps within teams, how do you ensure that the styles of older generation members and Generation X members work well together on projects and then communicate so that projects can flow smoothly?
Well, actually, that's a great point.
Which one of us is supposed to be the Generation Xer?
Well, yeah, that's a great point,
Yeah.
because, I mean, I'm being selfish, but our generation are better communicators.
Yeah.
We're more thorough. We communicate at a more professional level. And because I have two daughters that are your generation, and everything, first of all, they have the attention span of a gnat. and so that's important, because in order to communicate, you have to be consistent with the thought process.
Sure.
And you have to be able to focus on something longer than 10 minutes. So I see that as a real challenge with the generations. And I think it's going to be to the detriment of the completion of some projects.
Yeah.
I would very much agree with you, but I think this is an issue and it's not going to go away.
You're
so
correct.
How do we deal with it going forward? It's like, what can we do?
We retire.
We retire. I mean, we also have the millennials, and there are several groups in there that spans many years.
Sure.
And I think there's got to be a point, a give and take, where we can come together. It's not going to go away. How do we work together? Can we respect one another enough? The seniors versus younger people, can we work together? If those who aren't really good in a certain technology, can you teach them, but can I help you with some of the fine points of earned value or something else? There's got to be a coming together, and I look to that.
And I think we have to listen to the younger professionals that are coming online, because they could have better ways of doing things and better ideas going forward. And I think that's one of our challenges, is to, not that we know it all or have seen it all, because maybe there's better ideas than we've been able to use. I think that's our challenge at times.
So do you think that something that would be advantageous to include in maybe training of younger project managers would be a focus on communication?
I think it's communication. I think it's if it's emotional intelligence. It's being able to read people. If I was trying to read a book, I had to recommend books for people, like, probably say, well, read the Bible and you know how to treat each other, but read The Art of War, because that's really what happens. Because you really got to know the agendas and person's agendas and what they're trying to accomplish. And if you get everybody working in the same direction and understand what their motivations are and how you can create a win-win, I think you're going to be better off.
We'll move on to our closing question. Internal certifications within corporations and public sectors are becoming more important as time goes on, and it's believed that this will eventually eclipse the PMP certification. What are your thoughts on this? Could internal certifications lead to project managers' reluctance to switch companies in the future?
We've been toying with that. We've been doing a Edgar Jones certification, but it's in conjunction with the PMP. We'd prefer people to do the PMP, but the piece that was missing is how to get things done at Jones.
Right.
So what we did is we did the internal piece of it. We added onto it to have those things within our processes or within our culture is the best way to get projects done. And I think that's the harder part for somebody coming into an organization right off the street, is that they wouldn't know how this organization executes. Now you have the PMP, which we're trying to base a lot of our methodologies off of, but at the same time have a way that get things done within our organization.
Sure.
Sometimes people will say that the PMP from PMI is very rigid. You have to do things this way.
Right.
I don't see it rigid at all. I see it as a guideline. And then to put a culture or a corporation on top of it, you can still work with it. So I don't see them as being opposing.
Well, that's all the time that we have for right now. I thank you for all of your opinions, all of your insights. And so I'd like to thank our panelists again. I'd like to thank Barb Strang and Dave Mayo and Bob Smith for being with us. And that's all the time that we have. Thank you, and I'm Alex Ray. Have a great night.